Welcome to the Snickcast, the podcast that breaks down Nickelodeon's most iconic Saturday night lineups.
Join us as we discuss childhood favorites like Are You Afraid of the Dark, Kenan and Kel, and everything in between.
Well, and today it is Saturday, October 3rd, 1992.
Living life in a 90s dream. Snick, it's on the TV. Laughing with my best buddy. Yes, Snick, so right. Nickelodeon all night.
This is the spooky season, even though these episodes I think that we watched this week were not spooky at all. And I gotta say also, the movies that came out at this time were not that spooky. Just to give you a little knowledge, number one, still our boy DDL with Last of the Mohicans.
No matter how long it takes, no matter how far, I will find you.
After this, though, we got 3 new films coming out in the top 5.
This is what I'm talking about.
I feel like you watch this a ton. There's still an NHL team, and we call them the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, but back then we just called them the Mighty Ducks.
Swing,
Haverman. It's hockey. There's no batter. Idiot.
Hum, golly, golly, hum, golly, golly, hum, golly, golly, hey, golly, 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 save, golly, 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 hum, golly, golly, hey, golly, golly, hum, golly, golly.
I mean, you had to be a big fan of that movie, right?
Huge fan of the Mighty Ducks, man. Wow.
Did you watch the Disney Plus TV series that came out a couple years ago with
I put on
Amelia
about 30 seconds of it because Emilio was in it. I'm glad that the generations past ours get a little of their own Mighty Ducks, but there'll never be a Flying V like Adam Banks and Goldberg and the gang.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I even like the second one. What are the? It's just
Knuckle Puck
D2,
time?
right?
It's just
It's
D2.
D2.
The Mighty Ducks are back.
Yeah.
You get Knuckle Puck from Kenan Thompson. That's when
And then-
franchises really did their
Exactly.
thing.
Well, and then we have another sports movie right after it that just fizzled out immediately. Mr. Baseball, starring Tom Selleck.
Any of you guys speak Americano? Jack Elliott here, bringing you the best in Major League thrills for the fellas and free mustache rides for the ladies.
Number 4, a movie that I feel like was on TNT all the time as a kid, Hero.
Everybody always knows what the truth is, like it was toilet paper or something, and they got a supply in a closet. But what you learn as you get older is there ain't no truth. All there is bullshit. Pardon my vulgarity here. Layers of it. One layer of bullshit on top of another. And what you do in life, like when you get older, is you pick the layer of bullshit you prefer, and that's your bullshit, so to speak.
Number 5 movie in the country, that's Dan Aykroyd in Sneakers.
We can wrap you in a full bodysuit of neoprene heat-resistant rubber.
Now, I do have to give a mention to a movie that I don't think stays in the top 10 for long because it is a limited release, but probably for guys like us, watched a lot. Number 8 in America, opening this weekend, Glengarry Glen Ross.
A, B, C. A always be B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
So anyways, I saw that. I was like, wow, I thought Glengarry, because it did get nominated for Oscars that year. So I was a little bit surprised. Number 1 song in America.
I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt.
Still our boys, and they're becoming more and more men every day. That's all I got to say.
Wow.
And then usually I like to tell world events first, but this week I felt like this was a little bit more in our wheelhouse. After Snick, if we were old enough, we probably stayed up late and maybe watched a little Saturday Night Live, and Sinead O'Connor decided to rip up a picture of the Pope.
Over evil.
Fight the real enemy.
Whoa, that's this week?
That was this week, baby. So
Oh,
after
that's
Snick,
iconic.
if we were a little bit older, we could have stayed up.
That's incredible. And at the time, I would have been like, who's she ripping the picture up of, and why is she doing that? But I had no idea.
No clue. Now I'm being stupid. I did not look up who the host was because I remember it was kind of like a funny thing at the end where they had to awkwardly say "good night," kind of like when Ashley Simpson's voice track didn't work, and then Jude
That
Law,
weird hoedown dance off.
and then Jude Law had to be like, "Sorry, it didn't work out for her tonight."
What a night in
I know,
'92.
but we're going. That's 11:30. We got to get back to 8:00 on a different channel. We got to start snicking, and hey. Let's watch a rerun of Clarissa. So I think it's pretty funny. This is a episode that we've actually talked about a good amount. 2 weeks ago.
And recently.
Yeah. So Sam Swan Song was only on 2 weeks ago. And then last week, we even had a fan write in asking us a question kind of similar to Sam Swan Song about where we would want to move if our parents forced us to go somewhere else.
I find it crazy that the execs, especially because Snick is still we're barely in the second month of Snick as a block of television. They're already going like, Ren Stimpy did it, so I guess Clarissa can do it too.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I don't want to badmouth our main form of information, but the Nick Wiki says this was a new episode and says it was Sam Swan Song was a new episode, which is not true. Obviously, we're talking in the past now, so you guys will be able,
And it clearly operates like Wikipedia does, where anybody can just go and update that stuff. So we're fools for following it like it's the Bible, but we are. And this is a repeat. Sam Swan Song.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
It's actually a really fun episode. We talked about it 2 episodes ago on this show. So give that a listen. But instead, what we're going to do is what we did last week with Ren Stimpy. We're going to do a little just trivia, some fun information about the show.
Clarissa explains it all, answers to the call. Trivia is not a mystery, she's the master, ain't no history.
I found one that off the bat, I was just super excited to find out. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were also discussing on Clarissa about Dad said he won Midwest Architect of the Year. Looking through trivia,
our boy Marsh, right?
Marshall, the Marsh dog, as he was called in college. I found out that the Darlings actually, and we have their address. It's 44 Shadow Lane, Evanston, Illinois, 60204, which is supposedly a lakeshore suburb of Chicago, which is just a little north of the main downtown area.
Wow.
So the Darlings were doing just fine.
So Papa Darling, old Marsh Dog, was really kind of thriving as an architect in Illinois.
Yeah, who knows? Wow. Maybe he even, they're living in one of the track homes he helped design. We don't know. I was just so excited because we had a whole discussion about that. And then I was like, wow, we actually do have an address.
Have you Google Earth this?
No, I didn't. So what's kind of funny is I was now just thinking about what would be amazing is if I was the kid who lived there. I mean, now you don't know. These kids don't know Clarissa Explains It All, but they might, they probably are like, why do sometimes we get mail for Clarissa? Or people out front of our, why are middle-aged men out in front of our house taking pictures? Because I don't know if you know, online on YouTube, there's a lot of guys who are the addresses of your favorite characters in real life. And they're like, Mom, there's another one of those middle-aged men in a van taking pictures of our house.
I found out what I thought was pretty interesting fact.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that our main gal, Clarissa, a.k.a. Melissa Joan Hart, MJH, as we refer to her?
Of course.
That she also auditioned for Blossom.
Don't know about the future. That's anybody's guess.
What? The TV show Blossom, the hit TV show Blossom.
Whoa! Yeah, I'm about to say, we actually need to... Actually, you do your whoa. Your whoa's better. Your whoa's better.
Whoa!
That's a better whoa. That's a whoa!
Whoa! If you don't know what that is, go look it up. She auditioned for the Best Friend 6.
Oh, yes. I remember that character. I think 6 is the one I had more of a crush on.
Oh, 100%. If not, whoa!
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 Let's see. Then I had one other one that I thought was kind of fun that kind of leads into our next show, which is the crew from the show Roundhouse one time stole the famous big orange couch from the Nickelodeon studio in Orlando, hid that sucker in the prop room for Clarissa Explains It All. The missing couch was supposedly a big thing that everyone was searching for, and they even called the local police department in Orlando to go search for it, which
Whoa!
Whoa!
Whoa! I have one I thought was really kind of neat.
Hit us with that.
So check it out. Our boy Sam, the wow 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 intro music. That's not the fact. Fact is, the ladder that was used for Sam's room was only 3 feet, and Sam actually had to crouch down outside of Clarissa's window and kind of pop himself up. And I guess he got cramps, and it was kind of harder to do than it looked. But that was kind of a cool. I guess the setting of the house was obviously on the first floor, and he was literally just scrunched down, waiting for his cue.
Surprised they didn't give that kid no elevation to, to at least a foot
Lean
or
up
something.
there, yeah.
Whoa! Just like those mischievous kids from Roundhouse, we're gonna sneak on over to their place and we're gonna leave something there for them. So this week can't get any better, because guess what, guys? We're going to talk politics now.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, this episode of Roundhouse is all about the politics. The synopsis of this one is easy. It's Jeff, and I like they do on IMDb, they go, Jeff, in parentheses, the son, decides to run for class president. He struggles with the reality of politics and fake popularity. Well, I think he just summed up politics in a nutshell there, too, so... What did you think of this episode?
I enjoyed it. I liked that they brought back the dudes from the mall, the previous show. And one of the dudes wants to run for president. First laugh I got was when transitioning to another part of the stage, he asked somebody like, well, I want to run. Well, how do I get there? And they say, traveling music. And one of the actual guitarists from the band comes out and it's like, come on, follow me, and plays music and walks across stage with him.
It was pretty funny. And then there's that other time where he doesn't ride with them and he goes with the other group, and they do this must have been a popular thing because the crowd went crazy for that moment where they did the song that they sang while they're driving, quote unquote, to where they're going. I also got to say, the crowd on this episode, I don't know if they had friends in the audience or something.
They were going nuts.
This crowd loved everything. And I was like, it feels like a home crowd. It feels like they had some home field advantage, because there was a couple times that people cheered. I was like, I'm not so sure.
I have a theory, and maybe it's because you and I are fans of said cast member, but this was a very heavy dad episode.
Yes.
Dad outside of the couch doing impressions, doing work we haven't seen him do, and the man crushed it.
Oh, gosh, he did.
So I don't know if it was that they had friends and family involved, or that it was like Dad getting to really spread his wings outside the couch. But
yeah,
he had a lot of fun stuff throughout this episode.
No, it's true. I liked seeing him. And then I really like the guy who played the lead guy who was running for office. I think he's always really good is when they just have him be the stereotypical lead guy. David, the actor is David Sidoni.
Oh, yes.
I thought he was, I always like when he does that, because he still does good like voices and everything, but he also just feels like a solid leading man.
I think this was the first like full episode of him as like leading man. They had early on, I thought this was fun since we did this in college, but one of the transitions, they did a Guys and Dolls, sit down, you're rocking the boat, but it was sit down, you're rocking the vote. Musical number, which was a lot of fun. Our first impression by Dad that I was like, oh my God, here comes. He's reading his Buttman magazine again early on.
I was going to say, I was like, I knew you were going to talk about that. Buttman again.
The guy is a subscriber to Buttman magazine, and we need to get these in print, Roundhouse Movement, if you can find
I want to know who the Hugh Hefner of Buttman magazine was. I want to know who the founder of that was.
In 92, it could have been this Dad, or it could have been our boy Marshall from Illinois.
Between all the coke that he was smuggling and anyway.
So our guy Dad, he gets to do a Ted Koppel impersonation.
Really good Ted Koppel.
But it was Head Topple was his name.
That's right.
The kids were trying to put their names in the hat to run for president. So our guy David, actor David, the son, says he wants to run for president, and then somebody lets out that he had a scandal and that he'd kissed some girl, and this was a big scandal. He says, but I didn't inhale, which was very big.
In 92, that was a big political joke. Oh, I do want to point out, because we talked about the Ted Koppel impersonation, he also did a Porky Pig Rhett Butler impersonation.
So good.
Which even at that time is a huge stretch. But I loved it. So
it would have flown over my head as a kid, but that was so funny. So then they start presenting the other candidates, and the candidate number one is a guy called French Ideals Tea with lemon, a non-carbonated bev that you mix a lot, and this guy comes out and does a Sir Mix-a-Lot. I Hate Big Books is the name of the song he did. And all the kids are obviously going to root for this cat.
That was so funny. I mean, good impersonations in this episode.
Lots
and good joking. And if I'm cutting too early, but I actually laughed. This almost feels like a dad joke, but Arsenio Hall Monitor
Oh my
just
God.
had me that joke, and that guy's performance of it was
So
spot
good.
on.
Just truly hitting the zeitgeist for what was going on at that era.
Yes.
Arsenio Hall was thriving at this time, so that was not a stretch of an impersonation. It was cool to see this guy actually get to do a character that wasn't Bill Cosby.
Yeah, true. Jello pudding. I mean, he did have a couple of other smaller impersonations in this episode too that I'm trying to think of.
There's clearly some favorites early on, but they started to see other cast members get some spotlight in this episode.
Yeah, and again, the audience was so good on this one. I would actually be always curious. I could see this being one of their favorite episodes they ever filmed because this audience was on fire.
Well, I will say too, when they go to their first commercial break, they come back and they have this big chair dance.
Yeah.
Which was kind of more elaborate than the dances that they've done in the past. I don't know if that was just the timing of them finding their way into the show, or if that was another part of like, well, we got our friends and family, or let's really show them what we can do. It was a cool dance. Oh, so they have the second kid that's going to run for class president is just our boy, the son. The third kid is a gal by the name of Cindy Taylor, and the crowd just goes absolutely bananas for Cindy Taylor because
they love Cindy.
She's a smoke show, she's popular, and I think that's what they really keyed on was she's popular.
Yep.
And it's clear from there she's going to probably sweep this election.
Which I was thinking, do you remember, did you ever run for any school office? And then on top of that, who was normally president and stuff like that? Are you about to tell me you're president?
No. I will tell you that I was vice president.
Oh, there you go. Sweet little Al Gore.
I was a true jackass about it. We actually made the local newspaper. I was running up against I'm probably 16th, 17th in my class. I was running against the future valedictorians who were going to be the presidents. I had no chance. I knew this. I started making these posters that I cut out like Cindy Crawford's and Pamela Anderson's and be like, I'll go out on dates with you if you vote for Anthony.
Yes.
I put these all over the school. It made the local newspaper about how student body candidates making promises to date supermodels if they vote for them. I did what I had to do.
You would have actually gone through on your promise if you could have gotten a hold of them.
Of course I would have.
At the time.
And I reached out, but I heard back from no one. That was all I can really remember. When it came time to give said speech, I had nothing to say. I don't know why, but I wanted it as a credential.
That's so funny, though.
No,
I was like, I bet you Ant had. I at least ran for it. I could feel it. But that's
all I got out of the vice presidency was that I read the morning announcements.
Oh,
I did nothing else.
Yeah, I mean that was all I did in high school. I was a morning announcements guy. So I was
Incredible.
the Ted Koppel. I was the Ted Koppel of my school.
You were the head Koppel of the.
I was head Koppel, and a buddy of mine was Peter Jennings sitting right next to me, or
Ed McMayo was sitting next
or
to
Ed
you.
McMayo. That was our weather guy.
So did you run for office or no?
Never. I think I was secretary of the drama club. I think that was
incredible.
What secretary would just take notes, right? That's
yeah. See, that was too much for me. I didn't want that. I wanted to be the face and not do any of the work.
I have the voice of a person that you can tell you should not give a lot of responsibility to. So just I think when people would see and they go, there's something not right about giving that guy too much power, even if it is just to add a vending machine to the gymnasium, you know.
I'm sure I probably promised something like that as well, and I didn't win, so I didn't have to deliver. Thank God.
Do you remember how close the margins were? Were you actually way too close? Was the valedictorian girl or guy who were running really close against? Would they have been scared by how close you were?
No, I don't think it was. It wasn't a landslide, but it wasn't close.
Gosh,
I probably was maybe 30% of the voters.
Wow. Okay, that's still a good number.
It wasn't bad. I mean, our school is only 100 people, so.
Let's see. I'm assuming you had all the football team and all the football team, and then just a couple other guys from the auto mechanic class.
Yeah, it was a bunch of randos. I definitely had a wider spread of diversity in my voters. As to
That's
where
good
they,
though. You were
they had
you were trying to be a unifier. You're
of
trying to be
course
a
I was
unifier.
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow,
Good
that's
old
awesome though.
days.
I was curious about that. I was like, I could see Ant back in the day running. So,
So funny. I haven't thought about that in years. That's
but
hilarious.
it does look good on a college, application and stuff.
I think that's maybe why I was doing it, because I was going to theater and was like, I don't have to learn stuff. I just act like I learn stuff.
Exactly.
And that served me really well.
Well, and that's what I was thinking about, like with David in this episode. David, what's his reason for running? Did he have
I don't think we ever got it. He just got
Exactly.
this genuine curiosity, and I was
He wanted
I
to
kind of
better
related
his
to the guy.
community.
Yeah, exactly. He did not have a platform that he stood on. And once we found out that our gal Cindy was popular, I think he wanted to get popular, and then
Yes.
I can understand that, but he didn't enter the race trying to be popular.
But it seems like they're trying to make it like he had noble intentions. Like he wanted to do something good.
Yeah, I think you're right. At the heart of it, there was like nobility behind this. Yeah, early on, you can see that he's failing. He ends up clicking through the TV. We get a Luke Periwinkle, which is our 90210 parody guy.
Yeah, and that's
Has
our
a
Ed
VHS, our Ed McMayo guy.
Yeah. Gosh.
Our guy. He has Luke Periwinkle VHS is I'm a heartthrob, but you're a heartthrob, and it's kind of like a self-help VHS. Eventually, it's not even good for David. Then we click around and we get Dad doing a Ross Perot impression.
Awesome.
And he's got an Art of Quitting book. Ross
Yes.
Perot maybe was a professional at that.
Well, and then this also is another thing I was thinking about. Do kids still have book covers? Do kids still take books to school? Because I mean, book covers were such a big thing for me and my group. Like how we would decorate them. Like, would you do Christmas wrapping paper on it? Would you do the newspaper on certain ones? It was a big thing.
Yeah, I don't know that exists now. No, I mean, certainly nobody would have had a Ross Perot a quitting book cover.
Speak for yourself.
I was all in on Ross.
Oh, actually, I would have had a Dan Quayle one. That Dan Quayle joke is awesome. Also in it, where Dan Quayle comes in and then they essentially just push him right out the minute Dan Quayle shows up. Wasn't even in the conversation.
Oh, it was so funny, so quick right at the beginning. So we end up getting. They do have callback. MTV is back again.
Mm-hmm.
They have a little Vogue moment, but it's vote, strike the vote, or cast the vote. And then they get to the actual election, and surprise, surprise, our smoke show popular girl, Cindy, wins by a landslide. And she chooses as her VP, our guy David's nerdy friend who he tried to get rid of because he was nerdy. She finds him appealing, yeah. Something about this guy. He didn't even have to run. He didn't have to make promises like I did about getting supermodels to date you. The guy just was his nerdy self and got brought into the Oval Office of their school.
You know what? Maybe I would run more seriously for president of a high school if there was an Oval Office there.
Yeah, for real. The teachers had their teachers' lounge, but the student body and the student council had an Oval Office.
An Oval Office that they actually sit in every day.
That would have been incredible. So our guy David, he leaves defeated. He's upset. He doesn't know what he could have done better. He goes to his mom, says, what did I do wrong? She says, you can't get caught up worrying about what ifs, because throughout the whole episode, he has these asides where he's like, what if? Essentially, he asks his mom what he does wrong. She says, you can't get caught up in worrying about what ifs. Sometimes you just got to go for it, that was great. That's great sound advice.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and there's one more thing. What if we reprise the theme song and roll the credits?
Gosh, Mom, she's got it.
Keep watching. There's more Snick coming up next.
This episode of Snickcast is sponsored by WWF Wrestling Buddies by Tonka.
Ciao! Let's check it out. Introducing the newest WWF Wrestling Buddies, Big Boss Man and Jake the Snake Roberts. Clunk 'em, bonk 'em. Wrestling Buddies want to be your buddy.
Hey, buddy, what's going on? Nothing, officer.
Body slam! Hey, who's the wise guy?
Big Boss Man!
Murphy,
What's going on? Nothing, Sarge.
Big Boss Man and Jake the Snake Roberts, the newest WWF wrestling buddies from Tonga, each sold separately.
And now, back to Snickcast.
Well, and now it's time to go hang out with a couple of goofballs over at
man.
Tinseltown. Hollywood. Dun, 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 Hollywood. Do, 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 do. I don't think I'd ever seen this episode before, and this was an old episode of Ren and Stimpy.
To my knowledge, this maybe was the pilot episode of Ren and Stimpy.
It looks like it was at least maybe the first one that ever aired, but I know they did a short before that. I think they incorporated it in other times. This is a really highly rated episode also on IMDb, so that's
a pretty good episode, but you can tell it was early on. Well, of course, we're talking about Stimpy's Big Day / The Big Shot.
Which is funny because to me it just feels like one episode. Like they didn't even need to put that card in the middle of them. It was
I agree.
Just
They broke it up for no reason.
Yeah, but I mean, so this originally aired August 11th, 1991. And so the synopsis of this one is pretty simple. Stimpy wins a competition that takes him to the big time in Hollywood. Ren, left at home, begins to miss Stimpy more than ever he would have thought. Will Stimpy, rich and successful, remember Ren and return home? This is just a fun one. We just got a new cat. We have a second cat in our home now.
Hey, congratulations!
Oh, thank you. Let the cat sanity go wild. Anyway, so there's a lot of litter jokes in this one, and those were hitting really hard for me today. Give them the setup of what kind of happens at the very beginning.
Well, so
Get them
I
on
love
this journey.
this, and this is why I think it was maybe an early pilot or close to the pilot episode. They opened the episode with a little child and a voiceover. It is the very first ever log commercial.
What rolls downstairs, a motor and pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog. What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's log, log, log.
This is the classic one.
This is the one we learned from, and where they've branched off into these, where we get female log and where we get little brother log. This one was the pinnacle.
This is the log that started it all.
They do that. Then we peel off into what becomes Stimpy's Big Day. Stimpy is out in front of the TV, sitting on his litter box couch, which
I find kind of adorable. I found it kind of adorable.
It was adorable. Ren's comes in and tells him the cartoon's going to ruin your mind, and he yells at him. He slaps him around a little bit. Stimpy is waiting to watch his very favorite show, which I guess changes in the future, but his very favorite show, the Muddy Mud Skipper Show.
Who's the greatest mud skipper of them all? It's Muddy. Mud skipper, it's Muddy. Mud skipper, it's Muddy. Mud skipper show.
I forgot all about Muddy Mud Skipper, but man, a classic. A talking, do we know what kind of fish he is?
Mud skippers are fish. They have the ability to survive prolonged periods in both in and out of the water. But yeah, they move around. They have almost like their fins are almost like hands.
Wild.
So,
okay.
But
so
it
he
is
can live in and out of
fish.
the water. So he theoretically, Muddy Mud Skipper could be the host of a late night show.
Yeah, well, and so he
is.
does look, and he does look like what I see online.
Anyhow, he's a talking late night show host, and Stimpy's obsessed with him. They go to a commercial in the Muddy Mud Skipper show for Gritty Kitty Litter, and Gritty Kitty Litter is, I guess, a standard type of kitty litter, but they have a contest. If you write a poem with 47 million words or less, you can win a guest appearance on the Muddy Mud Skipper show and $47 million. Well, naturally, Stimpy loses his mind about this. Not over the $47 million, but just a chance to be a guest.
Just to be there, just to be on there. Which, but you know what? It needs to be those sort of ambitions.
Oh, we love it. So he sets out to write a poem. Ren mocks him the entire time. Even when Ren's mocking him, he comes up with some great lines that Stimpy incorporates into his poem. They go to bed. I thought the bed that they lied on was so funny. It's so big. You could have fit, the ox, the horse, the elephant, and the fat woman from the previous episodes between them. But
most
they each
orgies.
had a full orgy could have happened in there. They each had a framed picture of one another at their nightstands, which were so adorable.
most adorable and very cute pictures. Very cute pictures.
Oh my God! Like full 8x10s of each of them.
Yeah, this is a very soft. This is before the show got a little more grotesque.
Oh yes,
and a lot of the stuff like this is much soft. You could tell they were like, how far can we actually push some of these things? Because yeah, it's pretty soft. There's not a lot of gross stuff besides kitty litter.
You just get a little of Ren being heated and angry at Stimpy.
Yeah.
The next morning, there's a knock on the door, like the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when the Ed McMahon
shows up. The hosts of the contests are there, and Ren answers it. They said that Stimpy won this contest, so Ren poses as Stimpy because he wants the $47 million. And he ends up trying to eat the cat litter, and he hates it. And Stimpy eventually comes out, and they find out it's Stimpy. They ship him into a limousine, and he's got some hot models, and he's like waving at Ren, who's losing his mind that he's missing out on this. They take off to Hollywood.
Dun, 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 dun. Hollywood. Now, I did like they show Hollywood, and then the face of Kirk Douglas comes up like almost a statuesque version of Kirk Douglas's face comes up and then goes down. And I was like, I had to figure out why that happened. And then I looked it up, and I actually found out that the director, the guy, one of the creators and director of this, his favorite actor was Kirk Douglas. But yeah, he purposely had a caricature head of Kirk Douglas. It was so
good. It was very much something like South Park would have done. The pop up and pop down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so then Stimpy is backstage at the Muddy Mud Skipper show. He's talking to Muddy Mud Skipper himself, who's just chilling on a stool, and he's got this really deep cigar-smoking voice.
Almost like in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Baby Herman voice, you know.
Which is so classic for this tiny little fish. The next we see, Ren's watching TV at home, and Stimpy is on a commercial. He's on a breakfast cereal commercial. Somehow Ren, I don't know if this was his dream or not, but Ren is the sugar personified. And Stimpy's trying to tell the audience that there's prizes at the bottom of the cereal box, so you have to empty out the box to get to the prize, and then you put it all back in the box. And then we go to a real commercial, and we come back, and all of a sudden we're at The Big Shot, which would be second cartoon.
Which, I mean, it's just really just more Ren's depressed because Stimpy's not around.
Yeah, it's a continuation of Stimpy's success.
Yeah, and then Stimpy is living the good life in LA. He's wearing a thong bathing suit with girls watching him as he's jumping in the water, which I do just daily. I do that daily.
Yeah, I fantasize that's how LA is, and I hope that's what you're doing daily. And your new cat, I hope that's what's happening.
And like the litter just never smells better. Never smells better.
Speaking of, they go to a Gritty Kitty commercial shoot where Stimpy is in a grocery store, and they're going to do one of these live kind of like a taste test of the store brand kitty litter versus,
and then maybe one of our favorite performers on the show shows up, Mr. Horse. What's his name? Does he have
I'm just calling him Jacked Horse.
Jacked Horse, that's it. Yeah,
because he's so fit and ripped.
He is humongous.
Stimpy stops him and is like, "Hey, would you want to try these kitty litter boxes?" And so naturally, a horse goes behind a curtain and tries. He has him go do his business on a generic brand of kitty litter and the Gritty Kitty litter.
Yep. And one, he's like, "Oh, this one smells horrible." And then the litter that obviously they're trying to sell, he loves it. He loves it.
Because you can't smell anything. It's scentless.
You can't smell it, which that's all you want from kitty litter.
I say, does that exist, John, as a cat owner?
No, I mean, they take a massive one.
You smell it for weeks.
Yeah, they could cover 10 pounds of it. It finds a way. So
if Gritty Kitty actually existed, would you be a consumer of it?
I would test it. It depends on the price point.
If they actually had a scentless kitty litter.
Oh, well, I do have to say, we do go scentless no matter what. So we actually don't even do the scents that smell like mountain fresh or something like that, because there's nothing that makes the mountain smell worse than a pound of shit on top of them.
So you'd rather have a scentless pile of shit?
Yeah, I'd rather just have a scentless pile of shit than the smell of
the
mint
Alps.
Yeah, the Alps are mint leaves. Mint leaves mixed with shit.
Wow, so the gritty kitty litter really had a thing.
So I'll say they're onto something.
Oh wow! Well, Ren meanwhile is back in their old apartment watching TV to distract himself. But guess who's on every single channel in every movie imaginable?
So Ren's starting to have a little bit of a nervous breakdown.
Which I will say, all of these movies and TV shows that Stimpy was on in the quick channel change were kind of epic. The last one they landed on was a literal Yogi Bear.
That was really funny.
Episode.
There was the I Love Lucy one.
It looked like there was one of these like old Elvis in Hawaii type movies too.
Yeah, so just really fun stuff. You could tell they were having fun playing with Hollywood.
Well, then we go backstage of the Muddy Mud Skipper show because all that happened, I guess, in one episode of Muddy Mud Skipper. And Stimpy's crying, and Muddy's like, "What's going on, kid?" And he tells him that he misses Ren. And he's crying about it, so Stimpy packs it up and heads home.
Now wait, I like your Muddy's voice. What do you think Muddy said to him right there?
Pull yourself together, kid. You're a fucking professional. We've got a bunch of
I miss my family.
You think I miss my family? There's a school of us out there. But hey, I go back to the green room. I have those women suck that cocaine off my ding dong, and we have a good time.
The drugs ought to hide the pain. and then Marshall just comes in off screen and goes, "I agree. The drugs hide everything."
You guys need some more? Anyway, Stimpy can't handle the heat of Hollywood and all the drugs and the high life.
Exactly.
He treks it back home. He shows up on his doorstep as a literal hobo. Ren is thrilled that Stimpy's back. They have this beautiful, this reuniting moment. Ren says, "Whoa, what'd you do with all the money?" And Stimpy says he gave it all away. Ren says, "Oh, that's sweet." And then he has this freak out moment of go, "Wait, what? You gave away $47 million?"
And he goes ballistic.
Yeah, that's it. They kind of take us back to the end of the episode where they're back on a stage saying goodbye to the audience.
And then kind of like Ren going back to his darkness at the end, it's time for us to get into the darkness. It's great. I love it. It's October 1992 right now. You could feel it as a kid. There's nothing better than when October shows up because you can start feeling that's the season of, scary stuff. And I think this episode kicks it off the right way. So this episode is called The Tale of the Nightly Neighbors.
And I gotta say, out of the gate, we get our knockoff Alicia Silverstone asking us all, why do we only tell scary stories at night?
Yeah.
Which is a great question. I'll give that to her. Why do we only share these scary things at night?
As a guy who got scared often from watching the show, I do wish I watched more episodes
during the daytime.
During the day, I wish this was on earlier in the day. That probably would have helped a lot. But the synopsis for this was pretty straightforward. So some new neighbors move into the neighborhood. They are originally from Eastern Europe. If you can't tell from their accents, they wear black, collect blood, and are only active at night.
Well,
Exactly.
So instantly we get our nerdy boy Eric asks who's telling the story tonight. And who's telling the story?
Our sweet, sweet girl, Betty Ann.
Oh, and so Eric gets so bummed about Betty Ann. Our sweet, sweet Betty Ann telling the story because she only tells gross and boring stories.
Which I like. To me, I'm like, cool. Isn't that what we're here for?
Yeah.
I mean, so she's essentially telling like Saw stories. Like she's telling like the
that
story of
sounds
Saw
amazing.
or Hostel. She's like, and then Jigsaw said, "Do you want to play a game?" And then ripped her. So it would be pretty funny if that's all her stories ever were. Just like these are scary.
It's literally Saw 1, Saw 2, Saw 3. And
All
Eric's
hers
like,
are
I don't
just
like
heads.
these.
It's like, and vein by vein was ripped out of their
And
face.
she had to jump into a pool of syringes to find, like,
Hey,
Eric,
good callback to Saw 2. That's a
yeah,
good one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Eric, lame. Why would you not want to hear this stuff? Anyway,
I know. Well,
he's
Eric
bummed
has a
about
lot of
it,
problems.
but whatever. So she tells us a story. We open on a kid watching a black and white scary movie.
A classic, Night of the Living Dead. I mean,
That's what it was. Oh my gosh, I didn't catch that. Day's watching this movie, gets spooked by his sister. Classic popcorn goes flying everywhere. Sis tells him that she's watching too much TV, which is also kind of congruent with what Ren was telling Stimpy.
Exactly. Gosh, Liz, I don't like this. There's too much messaging right now. We had politics, then these two things. I don't know. I don't know.
Get out of here, 92.
Come on. I'm going to rip up a photo of the big orange couch.
Well, so after this, they notice there's some movement across the street through the window, and they got neighbors moving in. And that's pretty much normal, except that it's at night.
Middle of the night. Obviously, he's watching probably like the 10 p.m. movie. And these people, even at night, are pretty pale and are wearing all black.
Yeah, they look like they're some kind of like an old 90s theater group or of some beatnik poem. People going to a poetry slam. But head to toe, all black, turtlenecks, slacks, and shoes.
So, I mean, obviously, they're already weirded out by these guys. And then pretty quickly, you start figuring out that, or they start making the assumption that this family's vampires. And, I mean, it starts with when that mailman is coming.
Well, see, the next day they're out there, movers are bringing in these giant crates. The mover says, oh, these are refrigerators from Russia, for the Bronze, or their last name. He rings the doorbell, there's no answer, so he just is like, all right, peace. He didn't need to check them.
That's every delivery man. I mean, that's actually an accurate portrayal, so.
I did my job. They didn't answer.
I'm out.
Whatever. So, yeah, the brother and sister, they plow over this old mailman, and he does a classic, oh, mail's everywhere.
Well, no, they don't plow over him. The mom does.
Oh,
and the
that's
mom goes,
right.
and the mom just goes, sorry, I'm late for work, and then keeps on running.
Poor old mailman who's got to be 20 years her senior is like picking up all of his envelopes.
And he doesn't look well.
He does not. He goes on to tell the kids that he's been as weak as a kitten since he met the new neighbors. That's a red flag. I think.
And also, did you find this interesting that the mailman lives in the neighborhood?
That is a little strange. I don't know any mailmen that live in my neighborhood.
And I was just going to be like, man, a mailman could make a good amount and live in a fairly nice neighborhood back in those days. I mean, I thought that was...
That's a luxury work from home. Like, yeah, I guess I'll go outside for a few minutes, do my job, and then come back.
They're like, you need to do other neighborhoods. Mm-mm. Just this one.
Just mine. So
I can know everyone's business.
Emma is our sister, I guess, protagonist of the episode, more or less.
She's the lead. Yeah,
she's kind of weirded out by these neighbors, and they got these giant crates. The mailman's sick. Things are a little weird. She's out by her trash cans at night, and the neighbor's kid Lex.
I forgot that was the kid's name, and that's pretty good.
Kid's name is Lex. Comes up behind her and is like, "Wanna play?"
No, you got to do your best as an actor, because these people were not the actors. There's no way. I mean, if they were, they really. I need to hear your Ukrainian child voice.
Imagine you're recycling. I don't even know why Emma was recycling at night, but she is.
Yeah.
And then behind her, she gets a. Want to play? And he's got this kind of deep, weird voice. I sounded probably just like it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was like listening. It was like listening to the show.
Want to play? She's like, "Oh shit, you got no. I don't want to play."
He asked if he could come inside. He asks if he can.
Oh, he does ask that. Okay,
yeah.
Which is kind of a crucial question if you are in fact a vampire.
And she said, "No, it's too late. Maybe some other time." And he goes,
"Some other time."
Okay, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
So she goes to sleep, and then here we go, man. She's dreaming, and then bam. A fog storm blast through the window. We know our buddy got some work for fog in this episode because the fog plugs in so hard.
Booming.
This guy is working hardcore. Fog blows through the window. She wakes, and there's a daddy brawn is floating over her, goes to bite her neck, and it's like, oh god, full on, definitely vampires. She wakes up. It's just a dream. But she goes to tell her bro, Day. She thinks they're vamps.
Day will have none of this. He doesn't believe it. He thinks she's just worrying about nothing.
And so she's going on all these conspiracy theories. She's like, those crates, they weren't refrigerators. I bet they're coffins. And Day's like, no, that can't be right. We cut back to the campfire.
Which I was actually going to say, I was looking up the trivia a little bit on this one. One of only 8 episodes where the storyteller speaking partway through the story without the comments of another Midnight Society member.
Because they cut back, I guess multiple times, but we're back to there. While we're back, Eric is pouring what looks like Cosmos from a thermos.
Looking fancy.
Then we dip right back into the story, Emma's going on an investigation. She's determined to find out what the Bronze are up to.
Yep.
So she waits till it's nighttime. She knows that they're up and about. They leave. She sneaks into their basement. Breaking and entering, classic 90s kids.
I must say, I wish I had the guts these kids always did, because I would never have done this.
Not a chance. Guard dogs, alarm systems.
Vampire dogs? Fuck
vampire dogs. I'm out of here. I'm not risking it.
No way, man.
She gets in the basement. She gets spooked instantly by a Native American totem pole.
Which I gotta say, if I out of context, that's scary too.
Yeah, out of context, that is terrifying, and I don't think it has any relation to anything else in the story.
I think the fog guy was hanging out with his buddy Prop Master Joe, and he was like, "Hey, Joe, what are you gonna do with that totem pole?" I don't know. I was thinking about just putting it in the basement.
So while she's over there prying around, getting spooked by a Native American totem pole, the Bronze show up at their house across the street.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Emma's told Day-Day, don't let them in here. Vampires.
They're going to ask to come in. Do not invite them in.
Because this is elementary vampires. You do
this
not let them in.
101.
They can't come in. Which I always thought was a weird rule for them.
It's a funny rule because
it's like basic manners. Like, all right, you didn't invite me in. I'm not coming in.
Well, out of all besides when they suck your blood and rip out your veins, they're pretty classy, I'd say, for the most part.
Yeah. And again, and if you don't invite them in, they can't do that. So Bro's like, yeah, come on in. Oh, wait, no. I have you can't right now. So he saves it, and then Mom, again, comes in, just plowing in like, hey, guys, come on in. I'll try not to
Mom, aren't you
the
late for
mailman.
work? What are you doing?
Don't you got to tip off another mailman? The Bronze come in. Mom's asking about what they do, and they kind of go into that they work loosely for and around a hospital.
Yeah, and they work nights, and they collect blood. They're they're getting blood.
Mom essentially, the Mama Vamp to be says, work gets bloody. So Emma, meanwhile, back across the street in the house she broke into, finds a fridge, but it's padlocked. Day-Day comes through the window to warn her that the Bronze are on their way back. Before he left, he did try to he tried to stall them so she had more time, and he asked if Lex Braun wanted to stay and play video games.
Do you have NHL 92?
How about Ken Griffey Jr.'s Sweet Swinging?
Do you have any WWF wrestling pillows? I would like to wrestle Big Boss Man.
He's not into it. Emma gets spooked by Bro trying to warn her. She breaks open the fridge to, another swelter of fog comes pouring out of this fridge.
They're like, can we cut down on the fog? He's like, you do your job, I'll do mine.
Oh, what? You want more?
I'm sorry, the fog machine's so loud, I'm just going to keep it going. Hey, my prop master buddy, he's going to bring some more totem poles, too.
When the fog finally settles, we see that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of bottles of blood.
Yeah.
Or what appeared to be
completely
blood.
normal. This is completely normal.
This is completely normal. Naturally, Emma's like, I told you so. They book it out of there because the Bronze are on the way back. She says tomorrow we'll get them.
During the day. Yeah, during the day.
They're going to break in during daylight because that's safer. Vampires can't leave their house, so let's go invade their space.
In the house, yeah.
In the house. Kids.
But then they're going back, and just as they're trying to break in, who comes out the front door?
Mama and Papa Braun.
What?
In broad daylight?
In broad day. So now we're all like, oh my gosh, and Daughter and Day-Day, they're both like, gosh, we've been fooled.
They prove that they work at a hospital.
Yep.
They have blood from donors. They're carrying a box that proves it. Mama Braun says, hey, you and Lex should play those video games sometime.
Yeah. Can he come over? Can he come over tonight? And they go, yeah, sure. I mean, you're out here in the middle of the day.
You've proved you're not vampires, and we're crazy. Yep. Fine. So then kids part ways. Mom and Papa Braun go down in the basement, and they unlock a door that Emma wasn't able to crack into. that she suspected maybe is where they were keeping the coffins. We
And
did jump
guess
past
what?
that, but she was actually right.
Yep. And in that coffin was our sweet, sweet little boy, just
Lex.
waiting to play. Lex, waiting to play NHL 92. King what's the King Griffey one?
Ken Griffey Jr., sweet, sweet.
And I know then we cut back to the
So
Midnight Society.
they open up the coffin to reveal that Lex is in fact the vampire. They are not themselves.
They're not vampires.
Lex the kid is a vampire, and they said these silly Americans will never know that a kid could be a vampire.
Yeah. So they're
Exactly
just like
like
his
that.
servant, the slaves of this guy.
More or less.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this kid is a 400-year-old vampire. He has this moment where he opens up his mouth and you see his fangs.
Yeah.
And I think the show uses it for like montage promotion for years after, because I always remembered that shot.
Yeah, it's a fun shot, and then it cuts back to Midnight Society, and then our girl, she actually told Betty Ann tells a non-Saw movie story.
With no ending. Like, this is an open-ended story.
I mean, we know what's going to happen, though.
Of course we do, but,
Yeah.
Bitchy Eric, like, does he want to have a happy ending? He didn't get it.
Nope, he did not. But again, everyone ended. I'd say this is kind of like a quintessential cliche. This is when I think of Are You Afraid of the Dark? This is the sort of episode I would think of. Just a nice, solid episode. But you know what? What's it matter what we think? We want to know what you guys are thinking about. Let's get to some questions.
Tune in every week. Got a question, gotta speak. Nickelodeon on the line. Let's chat. It's podcast time.
Did you get any questions?
Dude, the
Or
ex
any-
MySpace Vine account right now has been blowing up.
Oh my gosh!
I had to
love
cipher.
this.
I had to cipher through. There were 2 or 3 that really stood out, and I finally was like, I guess I'm gonna go with this one. I like to kind of keep our boy John the Cow Coward on his feet here. Keep
Why
him
not?
on his toes.
Yeah, keep him on my toes.
Keep him on his
On
toes.
my cow toes.
On your hooves,
On my hooves?
as it were. This is one I thought maybe it could be some fun with, so I figured, all right, let's try this. At Ben Shave Tits.
Oh my gosh! This guy sounds like this guy definitely has multiple Pornhub accounts.
Yeah, he does. At Ben Shave Tits writes, if you were to form a boy band from the season 1 Snick shows casts, who would you choose to be in the boy band?
Ooh, this is great. Oh,
So I
this
think
is
from Clarissa, Roundhouse, Ren Stimpy, Are You Afraid of the Dark, who would you choose to be
all right.
in
Well,
your boy band? That's how I interpret it.
so we got to have our nerdy guy. So I'm gonna go Gary Egon Weatherman.
Okay, I love
Just
this.
right off the bat. Then I think I need my like little snot nose. So Ferg Breath is instantly in there. I'm gonna go with only humans. I'm gonna have to say Ren
Fair
Stimpy. I'm
enough.
sorry. I'm gonna keep them out. Then goodness gracious. No, you know what? Then I think I got to go Dad from Roundhouse. Dad from Roundhouse.
wow,
That's kind of
yeah.
the older wise man. And he's gonna bump out Marshall. I had to bump out Marshall. I was kind of thinking Marshall for a second, and then Sam needs to be in this band easily. And then
the heartthrob.
yeah, the heartthrob. And then as much as I don't like this little sucker, but our little beautiful haired boy from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Little bitchy Eric. Okay.
Little bitchy Eric. I think that's the band. So I got
Okay, so you think Dad from Roundhouse is clearly the baritone, the bass.
yeah.
the
He's
deeper.
our deep. Then we got Sam. Then we got Ferg Breath. Then I got Gary Egon Weatherman, and then beautiful haircut. Hate his personality.
Snotty Eric.
Snotty Eric. How about you?
That's a pretty good boy band. I probably was going to start with Marsh, our boy Marsh Dog,
Yeah,
as
I like
a
it,
bass
though.
baritone. You throwing Dad in does make me go, well, is that right? But no, I'm going to stick with it. Daddy Marsh is carrying down the deep register for us. I think I'd like to see. I think I want to see our guy Arsenio Hall, Bill Cosby, just for the vocal range.
Yeah, he has a lot of range. It's true. That's a good one.
Plus, I think I'd throw in Ed McMayo just for.
Just
I think to counterbalance that out, and then I think I'm with you on Gary Egon Weatherman. Like, I think that kind of the sound of them maybe as like I picture them as like a pentatonics, like an all like a cappella group.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Ferg is also there too. I don't know, something about his snottiness could really bring some flavor to the group.
I think that's a pretty solid one. So list them off for me. List them off.
So I would go Marsh. I would go Ferg. I would go our Bill Cosby, Arsenio Hall, our Ed McMayo, and then Gary Egon Weatherman.
Yeah.
And I think my group, I don't know if you'll pinpoint yours, I think mine's more of like a 98 Degrees.
Ooh. So more earrings and stuff. More earrings and
more
unbuttoned shirts.
It's more about style, I think.
More about, I'd say, my guys were definitely opening for Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
So they're opening for Backstreet Boys. They might have been the third openers for
Yeah, my guys were clearly 97 Degrees.
Just keeping it warm enough.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I gotta say, that's a great question at Ben Shaved Tits. Thank you so much.
Shaved Tits, that's a great one. Keep them coming.
What about you? What do we get in the Snickcast Gmail?
Exactly, snickcast@gmail.com. I got a lot of good questions, but I got an email and I could not figure out what the question was or anything like that, because I think we've gone international. So we got a message completely in Spanish. And I did you take Spanish at all in school or anything like that?
I slept through most of it, if I'm being honest.
I just sent it to you. I want to see, do you think you could do it better, or do the people want to hear this bucket of rocks?
I think I want to hear you.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Wow.
Because I did translate it, which got me very excited once I read it.
I can't wait for that.
All right, so, hola chicos, mi está escondido en Mexico por un tiempo hasta que el calor se enfríe. Encantos los encontré y podremos ser mejores amigos para siempre. Los palabras no pueden. Oh my gosh. I just want to know, this is not, I'm not trying to make fun of things. I just can't say it. Describa cuánto te extraño escalamente Antonio, tu mayor fan, Rebecca.
Oh, wow. So, I understood the last word.
Well, so this is what, so I was like, what's this person saying to us? I'm assuming they're saying, like, we love the episodes, what's your favorite Ferguson, scene or something. But no, this is a message from our girl Rebecca. So Rebecca
She's
somehow
south of the border. She made it sound.
So from what she says, and again, I used the Google Translator to figure this out. She said, "Hey guys, I'm hiding out in Mexico a while until the heat cools down. Then I'll find you and we will be best friends forever. Words can't describe how much I miss you, especially Anthony. Your biggest fan, Rebecca." I mean, so Rebecca's alive and well. To her father's attorneys, please take this as you will. I'll forward it to you. But Rebecca's alive and well.
This is great to hear. I don't know about you, man. I've never actually met Rebecca.
No, sounds like she really wants to meet us, and you particularly.
I mean, listen, I'm grateful for the fandom, but I'm glad that you're okay. But
and also, I wanted to start calling you Antonio, though. I think I need to start calling you Antonio.
I welcome it. I welcome it. Especialmente Antonio.
Yeah, especially.
I think I butchered that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good to know she's okay, and it seems like she's adapting really well there with speaking the language and all.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
The fact that we had to translate what she said, I almost wonder if she's always been from there.
Well, I'm kind of worried that, does she speak English anymore? Is also, she could have just wrote the email in English, but I think she's in a world where maybe she's afraid that it'll break her cover. Even writing.
Yeah, and she has no choice. Yeah.
Exactly. If she's at an espresso bar, does not want to give away anything about herself. So, Rebecca, be safe out there. Keep listening when you can. We'll try to incorporate some more Spanish words into it. So,
And
Hola.
we will be amigos in
Yeah.
time. Thank God for Google Translator. We maybe never would have understood any of this.
Me, John, El Queso Grande. And then, and then your boy, Antonio, obviously.
And obviously, I'm your boy, Antonio.
Again, I'm just glad she's okay. So
it's great to hear from her.
It warms my heart. But speaking of warmth, it's time to cool down that fire. It's time to get all cozy. Make sure those neighbors that are moving in next door aren't Ukrainian.
And if you've got the distance, stay up to watch Sinead O'Connor rip up that picture.
Oh my gosh! I mean, if I could have known at that time, I would have done it.
100%.
What a world! Well, you guys stay snicky. We'll see you next week.